Hi, Internet. It's your boy Elias here with another legitimate video for the first time in for fucking ever. After the Ruby video, the world more or less went to shit, and I claim partial responsibility for that. It was worth it in the end to get rid of that stupid series at last, and to have a little laugh in the process. But I've stuck true to my words, and aside from small talk with friends with work on a rewrite idea that at this point is so far from its origin it's practically an IP of its own, aside from that, I've washed my hands of Ruby, and rightfully so. So much so, I cringed in the editing process of my last soapbox of a video for even joking about it until I threw in that disclaimer, just so I could look like less of a hypocrite than usual. Good thing I care about my image so much. But you see, despite saying it for months on end with some and the fickle algorithm at large, some people haven't gotten the memo that I just hate thinking about this series. So I did everything I could to stay away. And then an old chum of mine by the name of Acid. His channel is Anime as Art, but I know him better as Acid, and it's what I'm going to refer to him as for brevity's sake. He showed up in my recommendations with a video about the 2-month hiatus the show is on. Boredom came a-knocking and I gave in, and that was easily the biggest mistake of 2021 for me. Alright, one final disclaimer before we get into the meat and taters of this response video. I had intentions to try out one of these whole response video things, but for whatever reason or another, the subjects that I thought about doing and came very close to doing them on, I just lost interest and buried them. So Acid, I must commend you for reigniting that spark in my heart, boyo. Shame you had to say some retarded shit in order to do it. So, probably against my better judgment, I decided to make him the guinea pig for my commentary debut, even if it means I gotta torture myself with thinking about a subject I would rather forget. But hey, it's just a working hazard for dedicated and abrasive nerds. But that's enough of that pesky context that's already made half my intended audience skip ahead or close out of the video. Let's throw up the fair use disclaimer and get on with it so I can go back to fun stuff.
You know what? I've recorded quite a thing about 3 videos, and I just deleted them all because just with this being the 2-month hiatus break, in all honesty, I am trying to avoid Ruby altogether. I want nothing to do with it.
Then simply don't. You've already made good progress by deleting whatever half-baked ramblings into your phone you had. Just quit while you're ahead and problem over, my guy.
Even telling my friends, just freaking ignore this shit. Let's watch other shit during this break. But one thing that's constantly been in my head with the whole Cinder backstory and everything.
Okay, ground rules. I might be wrong in my assumptions on how this whole Cinder backstory guff really is, since as you know, I'd rather drink some molten metal than watch that show or listen to a detailed description of it. But from everything I've heard from my friends who just keep an ear on things, they made Cinder as generic as can be with abusive authority figures and the added bonus of being a slave. And my man, he's about to have an aneurysm basically confirming that. Let's just get this out of the way in saying this was so predictable from the moment they advertised it. I mean, these writers, even when they doubled in manpower, they still had to piggyback about 80% of the writing for their characters by going, get our references to their inspiration? Have we beat it into the ground enough times yet? Like, I've had ideas for how to handle Cinder's backstory back when I actually gave a shit about this show and characters. I knew even when I drafted them that any ideas of mine, they were going to be completely overlooked so that they could give them Emorella more than Robot Chicken did.
Prince of Suckling, free your minions from the darkest crotch of hell, and send Cinderella to the ball. And you also need shoes. No, please, let us die.
If someone who at the time enjoyed the show for what it was could see this coming 3 years in advance, then why is it the supposed aficionado of anime is so worked up over the execution of this predictable concept? So much so that he can't get it out of his head alongside whatever the other subjects he deleted were about. Really makes one think.
It's been there, and today Vex dropped his video on his views on it, and
let me guess, for whatever reason, you couldn't have saved yourself and the 93 people who watched this the time by simply writing it out in the comments in Vex's video. I mean, I've spent the last year getting thoughts about franchises I used to care about out of my head by simply cherry-picking a select idea and throwing it into someone else's circle jerk. Definitely helps more than making a video about it.
a few people are chatting about on Twitter, and it was something I already thought of, But it's good to know that there's other people out there that have just gone, like, they've thought exactly what I thought, and that's, this backstory did more damage, not only to just the consequences of Cinder's character, it did damage to the entire world building of Remnant. This backstory was horrendously done.
Imagine my shock that the totally predictable outcome has negatively affected the world building that's been less of a puzzle gradually coming together, and more of one step forward and 90 steps back. Just a heads up, he repeats quite a bit of shit he stated in this video and a scant few others I remember watching. So get the alcohol ready, because this makes about 40% of why this video is so bad.
For the simple fact that it put a human and not a faunus in slavery.
Acid, you fine emu. That entire concept went to shit by Volume 4, simply based off the fact that humans and faunus have the ability to integrate without any consequences or racial tensions, both in regular kingdoms and on their little island getaway. A competent writer would have taken an idea like that and given a little conflict there, particularly because of the fact that the mayor of the little island, he essentially gets off free for letting his life work be devolved into a terrorist organization that has caused an international incident. That leads us to believe that the humans that live on this little faunus island getaway, they're either brainless or they're complacent with the fact that they live under the man who formed the precursor to ISIS. It only got worse in volumes 5 through 7, something you pointed out by the first episode, mind you.
Oh, and that's not the best bit. That's not the best bit. The faunus, discrimination. Humans work in the mines as well. So whatever shit the faunus go through in those mines, the humans go through it as well. So there is no discrimination.
At this rate, man, you're getting mad about the repeated car crashes from a blind driver. They've made this same mistake 4 years in a row, and you take the bait every single time.
The moment they did this, this is the consequences of writing. The consequences of your own world building.
I reiterate, what world building? They've shown time and again that they're of the Hollywood mindset, that consistency and thought are the stripper names of their favorite girls, and nothing more. They don't care.
The moment Kerry Shawcross put in his story that a human is in slavery and no one gave a shit.
I'm not going to be like this guy and repeat points I've already nailed thoroughly, so I'm just going to speed him up for this next minute, since he's said all this shit before and we all know it.
This is effectively the consequence of it. 1. Faunus slavery. Don't give a fuck about faunus slavery anymore. 2. The White Fang can get fucked. 3. Menagerie can get fucked. The Belladonnas can get fucked. Sienna can get fucked. Adam Torres, Ilya, all of them can get fucked. And you know why? Because they're not special anymore. This isn't a discrimination against the faunus. This isn't, despite the fact that you can watch World of Remnant, despite the fact we've been told time and again over volume after volume after volume, the faunus have been discriminated against. It doesn't matter anymore.
It hasn't mattered in years, just like Cinder's backstory apparently. Take issue with that fact instead of making yourself sound like a broken record by saying it pisses on the grave of the faunus discrimination plotline.
Because all of a sudden, you gave us a backstory that told us that humans were part of the slavery problem as well. It was never a discrimination thing. This was never about putting down and subjugating a race and making them feel like shit.
Alright, Acid, let's be frank here. If Monty was alive and holding the hands on these writers today, it never would have gone that far. Ever. The audience of the show is preteens to young adults, right? Well, suddenly, their dumb fun action show with meth-addicted lesbians decided to go hardcore in portraying a racist story. The overly sensitive viewers that make up the majority would be irate. We saw it happen with the Goblin Slayer anime, where they couldn't help but separate the in-narrative context from a scene and moaned up a storm over the murder and rape scene in their little anime. The viewers would be in a fit, the people at Rooster Teeth would have been in a fit, the show would have taken a massive beating in their viewership and ratings over such a non-controversy. So Rooster Teeth, they would have rejected such a concept no matter what. I hate that our overly sensitive culture is like that, especially for a fantasy cartoon like this, but it be.
all of the justification for the last 6 to 7 volumes, 6 to 7 years. The entire justification of the fullness just got thrown in the fucking bin because humans have been enslaved as well.
Alright, this is the last time I will ever refer to this fact. If he brings it up again, I'm just going to do some editing magic to show you all that the point has been hammered in already. You've already been given this information, and you know that these writers have a tendency to hardly ever listen to criticism and improve from their mistakes. The only example I can think of off the top of my head is the throwaway joke about how Volume 5 was spent with the characters just warming their benches. Anything else in the criticism goes in one ear and out the other. You know this. Please don't bring it up again in this video or other videos, you dense piss bag.
That's equality.
Alright, bro, this is the most nitpicky of nitpicks, but that's not the word you're looking for. I know you're about to say what you mean, equality and slavery and all that, and what you really mean is that it isn't race-based, kind of like how slavery was before the TAS. So allow me to fix your little sentence for you.
The slavery and discrimination angle is bullshit, as we later find out that slavery on Remnant isn't based on race, but on how little those above the characters are valued.
You got close in your next ramble, but not close enough, so thank me later, mate.
And all of a sudden, everything they built up for years doesn't fucking matter. At all.
Mother ugly. Shut up! I mean it. I will end you.
And this is a huge punch in the gut for me.
Because you surely must feel gullible for falling for this same joke for the umpteenth time. I know I would.
Because if you go back and see any of my videos, before Volume 7, like either post Volume 6 or during Volume 6, all my predictions for Atlas, I was so hyped for Atlas.
Thank God he made this public in Christmas of 2020, because if I had said that in any other year, I'd feel ashamed for saying something so depressing.
I was like, this is going to be the racist shithole, this is the fallen of slavery, this is where they're going to bring Blake and Weiss's story like to a complete fucking circle, they're going to go in deep. This was my hype for this, and it's a military nation.
I'd maybe have been excited for such a thing if it were to happen in any other order than what the show did. I mean, if you sat through volumes 4 through 6 and thought Atlas had any chance of not slipping on a banana peel in their battles, after seeing how the White Fang was handled, you must really have faith in the community's ability to criticize.
And they've fucked it. Not just with, like, Cinder's backstory, they've fucked everything. In stupid fashion.
The grave is already filled with the corpse and the dirt is on top of it. No sense in digging anything more than a ditch for the piss to flow through.
At this point, ladies, it doesn't matter if it's Kersey, it doesn't matter if it's Eddie, it doesn't matter if it's Miles. They're writing this shit together. I don't give a shit how much they try to fix stuff or whatever they're trying to do.
No further comment.
Kerry essentially wrote the episode.
He probably did write it. You can probably tell by the level of stupid that goes into each episode who was the one that did most of the work for that particular episode, especially if you still torture yourself with their work.
Of Cinder's backstory. He's the producer of the show. He makes all the decisions. He just destroyed the world that he's been creating for the last 8 years. He just destroyed it.
You idiot! You've fallen for it again! You've fallen for the rat trap!
Reminder, that already happened at the latest by Volume 6. He's been snorting the ashes off of his stripper named Contrived. Moving on.
Going forward, I don't care.
I have a screenshot somewhere in my phone's gallery I might find and edit in where he says the exact same words prior to Volume 7. Just goes to show that he will care when it's time to make another ramble into the phone.
You sacrificed your entire world building. What could have been all of the White Fang, all of the Faunus, all of the Schnee, Blake and Weiss's personal motivations in character growth. You destroyed all of that for Cinder fucking Fall.
Okay, two things. One, they had already shot themselves in the foot with this concept multiple times. So this part of Cinder being another bullet fired into it, that's not the kill shot, but just reassurance that it's not getting back up. Two, as I said, they would never have gone as far as you want it to, and it's a crying shame. So instead of doing one of my editing tricks and such, I'm just going to say, well, my co-author and I, we've been working on our little work. Its development is rocky to say the least since, well, we're both trying to do what we can to live a life in quarantine while also indulging in these hobbies. But it has more of the race tensions, war aspects, and so much more that you would probably like. I'll let you know, since you clearly won't shut up about it.
And a generic Cinderella backstory, without thinking of the consequences.
You didn't see that coming?
You know what? I got this to say to the fandom as well. If you are some fuckwit in this fandom who honestly believes like this is one of the greatest shows ever, or like you're just the devout fanatic for this show, you're a fucking moron.
Preach it, Captain Obvious.
If you cannot see, if your answer, if you go back and watch it, I've heard people turn around and say it's in World of Remnants, so it's okay. It doesn't work like that.
Agreed. If a narrative has to use its supplemental material as a crutch instead of the icing on a cake, then it's just retarded. See? I can agree with good points when they're made. Too bad everything else in this video has been worse than cancer.
This is officially the retcon. Cinder's backstory is a retcon to the entire thing. And it's all because when they write, they don't think of consequences.
It's more a matter that they knew they were already fucked and had no ideas to make Cinder's backstory anything else. So they just went with whatever got them back to their leaky apartments and craft macaroni faster. Not saying I agree with the mindset, but given the fact that there's been a substantial lack of effort in the show for ages, I wouldn't expect anything less. But hey, rationality must be your stripper's name.
So, fuck the fanatics. Fuck the writers. This show's a pile of shit. It's got nothing left.
Oh, what a twist. The stupid show we berated for almost half a decade is still stupid. Think that dead horse is dead yet?
Now you know why Miles has gone freelance. He's ready. He's out the door. He only writes like one in 4 fucking episodes. He doesn't give a fuck. He wants out of this. He knows this show's fucked. Kerry's the one that's going to go down with the ship. And rightfully so at this point.
The bitterness. You'd think Carrie was like his college roommate or something like that and cock-blocked him by how bitter he sounds in this and a couple other of his videos, tweets, and such like that. Like, no lie, man, you're a hate boner. It's amusing, but at the same time pathetic. Like, act mature, fool. Well, I'm gonna wrap this up right now. I made this mostly just to cross this little commentary idea off my bucket list and get back to better things. I may have said a few exaggerations here and there, but I obviously don't hate my mate. I just watched this and, it was bad. I just thought he made himself look really stupid at multiple points, and nobody likes seeing their chum look retarded and unironically think they're not. It's because I respect him that I made a mostly calm critique of this video. I may be an ass and I had a falling out with them, but I don't hate any of them, just their blatant hypocrisy and how annoying they can be. Just to prove that I don't hate them, I'll just throw this up here. On that note, as a little message, if you want to be a big bitch about me criticizing this little rant of yours, I welcome all kinds except for the doxing of my personal info. We can act like adults in this situation and move on from here, or you can be really stupid. Alright, and now that I've got this out of the way, I'm just done. I've been having some cardiac issues, so I'm going to be taking care of that and looking into that over the weekend. So you're probably not going to see any videos from me for a long time. I'm going to aim to try and get one put out by March. But, I made plans like that last year and it went to shit on me, so, we'll see. So, goodbye. You call me a bitch like it's a bad thing. You call me a freak like that'll mean something. You can't get your way, so you're angry. I think we know the rest, so get it off your chest. I don't give a shit. I love it when you call me a bitch like it's a bad thing.
Oh!